100% it could be our year. I think there will be pressure on Arsenal to win it this season, and I think we're in a good spot. The squad depth that we've got, the talent that we've got, the fact that we've got players like Victor Gyökeres that have come in that can be the difference makers in those games, there is no reason that we shouldn't be gunning for the Champions League.
Hello, I'm Angelina Kelly, and today we are talking all about Arsenal. We're into Mikel Arteta's 7th season at the helm of the club, and whilst always the bridesmaid, never the bride has been the punchline for the club for many years now, after £250 million spent in the summer transfer window, there's a feeling that this really could be Arsenal's year to win silverware, with some even thinking that they could lift the Champions League trophy for the first time. Joining me to chat more about this is Rory Talks Football. So, Rory, great to have you with us. First up, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that 2-0 win over Athletic Club in the Champions League last night. I mean, Arsenal haven't won or played that well in their first away games in Europe the past 2 seasons, losing 2-1 to Lens in 2023, drawing with Atalanta last season 0-0. So, good to get off to a good start.
Yeah, definitely. It was a trickier game than maybe some people had anticipated going into it. I think Arteta spoke about the atmosphere there. The Bilbao players were clearly very up for it. And first half, we kind of had to ride a bit of a storm from them, although we did control most of the game. But yeah, getting off to a winning start. I think in the Champions League with the new format, because you've still got 7 more games after the first one, it can feel a bit like, wow, the result's not too important. You know, we got City at the weekend, maybe focus more on that. But I really do think that the 3 points in this game, one of the 8 games that we should be winning, was important. And crucially, I think the performances were really strong. I'm sure we'll get into certain individuals, but Mosquera, really impressive again, and the players coming off the bench making an impact.
You mentioned this new system with the Champions League. I mean, we're into, season 7 of Mikel Arteta's reign. There are big calls for this club to deliver a trophy. There's talk about it being the Champions League, but I wanted to ask, do you think that this new league phase could work in Arsenal's favour because you've not got that pressure of those groups and the tables and seeing what could go wrong or who you're going to face, that you've got quite an array of fixtures and there's that playoff section as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think because of the playoff section, there is less pressure knowing that you can, if it does go wrong, you end up only finishing between 9th and 24th. There's still a way through. But also I think, especially this season with the depth that we've got in the squad now, it's an extra 2 games, and that will be more detrimental to a lot of other squads than it will be to ours now because of the rotations that we can make. I think our squad should stay fitter and fresher for longer this season. So yeah, I think it suits us. Obviously, last season we finished inside the top 4, and that benefited us going through the rest of the stages as well with a slightly easier draw. So yeah, I think there will be pressure on Arsenal to win it this season, and I think we're in a good spot.
I mean, one of the biggest reasons why people think that the Champions League is doable is because of this squad depth that you've spoken about. Former Arsenal forward Thierry Henry has said that nobody in world football can match your strength in depth. Do you agree?
I definitely think it's an argument. Yeah. I'm not going to say that our starting 11 is necessarily the best in the world, but if you look at Liverpool, for example, I think our depth goes a lot further than theirs does. Same with City. You look last night at the back 4 that started the game. You've got an alternative back 4 of White, Saliba, Hincapié, and Miles Lewis-Skelly that would arguably be probably one of the top 3 or 4 defences in the Premier League as well. So that combined with the attacking depth that we've got, obviously seeing Trossard, Martinelli coming off the bench as finishers, as Mikel Arteta described them, it's really good. And that is with, players like Bukayo Saka, Kai Havertz still yet to come back into the squad as well.
And, you mentioned those players coming off the bench. You mentioned someone like Mosquera as well. I mean, you're without one of the, best defenders in world football, and you've still got somebody like that has you not necessarily, missing anybody. How impressed have you been with the new signings, but also players like Trossard and Martinelli, who Martinelli for me seemed a little bit emotional when he scored that goal. And you can understand if he's maybe feeling a little bit left out in the cold, but they are really stepping up to the plate, the new signings and the people coming off the bench.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the new signings, obviously, we've not even seen much of Norgard or Hincapié yet, but Mosquera has just blown me and I think everyone away. There was a lot of hype around him in terms of the potential, the future potential, the way that he could develop kind of learning from Saliba. I don't think anyone anticipated, A, that he would need to come in as quickly as he could, and that B, he would come in and yesterday, a first Champions League start, 21 years old, and he absolutely bossed it. He looked completely unfazed. He's growing in confidence as well, which you can tell. So that's fantastic. And then, with Martinelli, Trossard, I think with Martinelli especially, obviously for the past 3-4 years, he's been a really crucial player for us. He's been a starting player, and I'm sure it is difficult to kind of stomach new players coming in, taking your position, but I think the competition in the squad is really important, and we saw it last night. It was, I think, for the fan base as well as Martinelli, it was really important to see him take that opportunity. I don't think any of us like sort of criticising Martinelli for his performances, and it was really, really nice to see him and Leandro Trossard, who ultimately has been a really good impact super sub for us for the last couple of seasons. I think that is where he is at his strongest, coming on and influencing games from the kind of 60-minute mark onwards. So, really impressive, and the competition is going to be fantastic. I saw someone say, this time last season, or if we'd had the injuries that we've got now last season, which we did, and then you were looking to bring on 2 attacking substitutes, it would have kind of been Raheem Sterling and Butler Oyedeji, and the difference between those two and Trossard and Martinelli is obviously huge.
And I wanted to ask, which camp were you in with Noni Madueke? I mean, there were some fans who were not having him. I think speaking to a few Arsenal fans, they were saying it was more because you didn't know other names were coming through the door. Had you have known that Eze was coming in, Gyökeres was 100% coming in, maybe people wouldn't have had such a big reaction to it. But where did you sit with it, and where do you sit with it now?
Yeah, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I was delighted with it. I never.
He's
had
not on
an
the back
issue
of your
with...
shirt, then.
He's not on the back of the shirt. He might be by the end of the season. No, but I never had an issue with the player. I think bringing in Noni Madueke, and I said it at the time, was important because we've been crying out for someone that could be a backup for Saka or even compete with Saka. And I said at the time that if Saka gets injured again, suddenly Madueke will look like a far more important signing. The price tag was always the kind of thing that I raised my eyebrows at, and that was because at the time I wasn't anticipating that we would go and spend nearly 300 million, and so you felt, if we're going to maybe spend 200 million and over a quarter of the budget goes on Madueke, is that the best use of funds, etc. Happy to hold my hands up that I had no reason to be concerned, and just been delighted with the way that he's come in. It has been really important with Saka's injury that we've had the player to do that, and obviously with Eze playing off the left-hand side as well, it's been refreshing, I think, to have a whole new front three, very different dynamic. We're going into games very excited again, which is nice.
Now, according to an article in The Times, Arsenal are considered by Opta's Power Rankings the second best club team in the world. You look at the season before last, narrowly defeated by Bayern Munich in a tight quarter-final. Last season, you knocked out Real Madrid, and then you were knocked out by a very clinical Paris Saint-Germain side, I would say. So, with all of that information, when you look at it, do you feel like this could be your year?
Yeah, 100% it could be our year. I'm sure people will lap up the fact that we are the second best team according to the Times. But no, I think, you look at last season, to get to the semi-finals, even the performance that we put in against PSG, I know we lost, but with the players that we had missing, it really wasn't bad, and there were moments that could have gone the other way. Obviously, Donnarumma plays arguably the 2 legs of his life, and it goes their way, and credit to them, but it's always about moments, and this season you're seeing early on PSG, I think Kvaratskhelia, Desiree Doué, and Ousmane Dembele are all injured early on for them, so we'll see how it goes. There are no givens, and at the very top end of elite football, you can't guarantee anything, but I do think, like I said, the squad depth that we've got, the talent that we've got, the fact that we've got players like Victor Gyökeres that have come in that can be the difference makers in those games, there is no reason that we shouldn't be gunning for the Champions League.
Who do you think is the biggest competition? Obviously, it's very early days, but who do you think is?
Tricky. I think probably Barcelona. Barcelona are a team that I look at. It was very surprising that they didn't reach the final last season. And if they had, I think they may well have gone on and won it themselves. So, yeah, I think they're a top team, one to look out for. You can never write Liverpool. If their players stay fit, they'll be up there. PSG again. So, yeah, I think it's going to be very difficult, of course, but I'm confident.
I don't want to be negative because I actually do think that, the points that we've discussed, there is a chance that Arsenal could win this. But, there is so much talk about how it has to be this year and there has to be silverware. If there is no silverware, what does this mean to you as a fan and what does this mean for Mikel Arteta?
Yeah, I think for me and for him, it would be very disappointing to walk away from the season with nothing. Again, I think it has reached the point where it is a bit of a monkey on your back that you want to shake off. And look, like I said, with the Premier League, the Champions League, there are no guarantees. And I don't think you can go into any season where you're competing with the likes of Liverpool and City, and then in Europe, Barcelona and Real Madrid, etc. I don't think there's any point where you can say you have to win those two. But I do think, especially with how much we're talking about the depth that we've got, that when it comes to the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, we should be competing on all four fronts. And if it's not a Champions League or a Premier League, it at least needs to be one of those, just so that we can, get rid of the no trophies in 6 years stigma that we've now got. I think that, as a fan, it just becomes really annoying. And when you're dealing with other fan bases on a day-to-day basis, like, I'm sure for the club, winning the Carabao Cup is maybe not really that important.
But
And
just
even
to
for
get
the fans,
that trophy.
it's not crucial, but I just think just shaking that off would be important. But obviously, I think to truly satisfy the fan base at this point, it needs to be the league or the Champions League.
Rory, thank you so much for joining me. Let us know in the comments what you think. Could Arsenal win the Champions League this season? Don't forget, this video is in association with our own bookie, talkSPORT Bet. Download the app or head to talksportbet.com if you want to get involved. 18 plus, T's and C's apply. BeGambleAware.org.